Scene/Chapter 14. What have we found? WTF crumbled planet. IT doesn't look good. Bob is back in his apartment at his workstation with 3D objects floating in front of him as he loads up the video clips from the helicopter trip. He is pointing and dragging them with his 3D mouse wand that has feedback on the end of his finger and says "OK" as several bubbles pop. He holds his head as if his chi field is connected to his computer. He says "hello boys" with an unbelieving laugh to pictures of the monks who appear, and he is reminded of their teachings to cut things down to a minimum in true maintenance fault-finding style in order to unclutter and pinpoint his analysis. He mutters, "Wow, they were quick. Why did I laugh?" Bob presses a news update application and a key sequence of discovery appears as a large array of news items in front of him in a 3D spiral carousel which rotates like some interconnected DNA helix of dystopic news that makes Bob wince and say, biogenetic news, do I really need that now? As the spins in front of him. News spirals on more global economic disruption. Huge market upward fluctuations, unsustainable bubbles caused by software-based high-speed trading systems. Cyber attacks, combined with aggressive activity in various hard-to-identify multiple transnational areas pushing markets in Soros-style methods of manipulation, making profits in a falling market by shorting stocks, which allows them to sell borrowed stocks high and buy them back at a lower price, then give them back after making a profit out of them. Hidden Ponzi schemes crippling the unaware punters. An increase in weak indecisive leadership at all institutional levels, with failing ineffectual central establishment organizations showing any attempts to control situations due an apparent inability to make decisions to efficiently manage employment sectors for social prosperity to provide basic needs for all. Increases in weather extremes. These are natural results of climate change but are being enhanced in zoned weather patterns by excess dust pollution and made more noticeable by obsessive media reporting which does not focusing on the root cause of polluting cities but supporting increased city consumer development. A totally mixed message detrimental to global awareness. A rise in killer viruses. HXNY increases in types. Bird flu. Swine flu. Man-made killer versions created in Europe. SARS, MERS, etc. An increase large-scale animal deaths. Huge quantities of fish washed up on shorelines. Flocks of migrating birds falling out of the sky. Deaths of bees and insects due to increased insecticide use and bug-killing GMO crops. Home genetic test kits, and genetic experiment kits availability. Gene sequencing by Oxford Nanopore. Sixth form student DNA experiments in UK. Readily available apparatus for DNA sequencing, Agilent DNA analysis kits. $101,000 gene synthesis by BioBasics. Kits allowing home users to test genetic modification in foods, breeds of dogs and cats and other pets, breeds of humans based on haplogene structure, screen genetic disorders, etc. Amino Labs, Amino 1 Biolab kit for home experimenting in GMOs etc. Boy pregnancies in South America. Fetus extraction operations from boy children. More virgin births to female mice. Extended reports on tricked egg fertilization using two female source of DNA. Bob tags this to his previous notes. More genetic code sequence breakthroughs. USA presidential authorization to document genetic code has found areas that can be replaced and altered. More brain scan activity anomalies. USA presidential authorization to scan human brain to map operational activity. Chinese cancel using execution body parts in 2015, why? Alternatives have been found? Chinese scientists genetically modify human embryos. As in Nature magazine the 22nd of April 2015. stem cell beef grown in Dutch laboratories. Lab-grown burger publicly eaten in London, 2013. The Dutch scientists say they can grow swimming pools of meat in weeks. These cycling clips are interleaved and interrupted again by more and more subliminal teaser clips of women in the 25-35 age group in strong corporate positions who seem very well informed and confident with mad greedy Hillary Clinton eyes. Bob says, "Oh no, not them again." Bob laughs and plays a YouTuber looking through Gary Gilmore's eyes, a song about a transplant of a murderer's eyes. He sings Hillary Clinton's eyes in place of Gary Gilmore. Bob mutters, "Why all these women again and again? Every time I sit down and work, I thought I filtered them out." Bob then sets up a search capture app he has named Grabber to log his web searches, and he then runs through his history search sequence at speed and views the statistics that indicate a 3D map globular cluster beginning to form that is identifying corporate monopoly greed centered on a selfish corporate misuse of global resources, all focused on biotech and the Far Eastern women CEOs. The areas of search returns activity but no specific names. Well, fancy that. Bob says biotech, Far East, women and no names. No names, Minnie Bloody Mouse maybe. Bob attaches this information to a 3D system simulation that shows a vast decline in non-renewable resources in the West and especially the North Atlantic without them providing any productive output return from the energy use. Non-productive use of energy, generally created by empty road lighting and empty buildings. The Far East, however, showing productive manufacturing but an associated massive energy use. He compares this with a modified World 3 resource population simulation he has, and the time scales show on comparison that there is a sudden increase in decline causing huge population decrease earlier than the somewhat generous metrics in his original World 3 example. The World 3 simulation, which has been available for decades, created by the Club of Rome, also shows a critical reduction of global population with non-renewable resources being the cause but not as enhanced as this model is now showing. Both models highlight that it is not pollution that is a problem, pollution is caused by population and increases with population. The huge increase in global population, mainly in cities, in the past century has created huge pollution that cannot be handled by natural processes, ocean air scrubbing and forestry growth. This increase that is naturally out of control and mainly now caused by the albedo effect through loss of reflective snow cover once the melt had been initiated by greenhouse effect, is consequently destroying natural non-renewable resources in oceanic and arable land availability, killing food availability by drought or flooding of land and imbalance of water supplies for fisheries. Pollution as spouted by sensationalist mainstream media's scaremongering to support some ghastly individuals who jump on the populist bandwagon to make money and capitalize on what they call carbon credits will not decrease pollution. It is too late to spend money or use some taxation to make money out of disaster on greenhouse effect, as this trigger point has been passed. Removing greenhouse effect now won't stop the heating from land exposed by loss of whiteness. The models show it is the loss of non-renewable resources that population relies on, that is creating a huge and ugly global population decrease. The consequent loss of population will indeed cause pollution to go away, but a lot of suffering will occur in the process. The dystopia created by the sickness of overpopulation in unhealthy atmosphere enhances the behavioral sink effect, where individuals either remove themselves from society and lay down and die, or become aggressive and kill each other in the streets, an increase in both of which are being observed in many city environments. The Global 3 simulations account for many aspects of sea rise by albedo effect causing loss of arable land and loss of sea life by ice melting. This loss is nowhere near what appears to be a corporate destruction of necessary resources required for basic life centered around wide-scale uncontrolled or uninterrupted destruction of forestry. The models show the loss of the resources of structural materials to build ecologically wasteful corporate city buildings, for empty sales rather than as homes. These resources are required instead for basic needs infrastructures of water containment, food production, processing, shelter and transportation in order to provide infrastructure for food for survival. This is the kind of sustainable infrastructure that the restructuring into aquaponic-based townships produce, with living and food being the major focus of life. This is the kind of infrastructure that can be created as in some colony on a planet far, far away, except that it can be done here in previously uninhabitable desert and tundra areas of planet Earth. It is this, after all, the kind of system that should be honed to perfection here on Earth before any venture to other planets or the Moon is considered, rather than finding the problems when miles away from Earth.